If you make me look good, I'll help you as much times as you want. But it's when you make me look bad, that's when I'm like, you're done.
You get one ask your whole lifetime.
If the parents believe in him so much, why don't you invest? You dip into your pension and give your son that money.
If she was a man, they'd be like, how dare you ask your brother for that? Your brother's got like a future to build, a family.
Yo, everyone, welcome back. Brand new Techish in the building. It is me, Michael Pahane, the CEO of Pocket and Pocket Jobs, and I am joined with
Abadesi of Hustle Proof.
Yo, so I think this episode, we're going to try and do something different. We're going to run through some scenarios, questions, and see what our perspectives are on it. So the first one I want to go through, improv, yeah. So the first one I want to go through is, am I the arsehole for rejecting a big tech job offer because I prefer getting in on my own merit rather than nepotism? So here's the scenario. Okay. I graduated as a CS major last year, and as you know, the market for new grads is quite bad at the moment. I was making hundreds of applications and barely receiving any interviews or offers. It was getting depressing. So I asked people I know, such as my dad and uncle, to ask some of their friends and get me referrals. They knew many people at big tech companies, so I was basically guaranteed to get an interview. I spent hundreds of hours on practicing interview questions while waiting for my dad and uncle to get me referrals. In the meantime, unknown to them, I also kept applying to other jobs. At one point last month, I was interviewing at two companies simultaneously, one being the company at which my uncle got me a referral and the other being a company where I applied on my own. I got the offer at both companies now, and even though the big tech company obviously had a higher reputation than the other one, which is a mid-sized multinational, I rejected them because I would prefer working somewhere where I got hired on my own merit rather than cheating my way to it. I know this sounds hypocritical because I was the one who asked for this, but I suppose I had a change of mind. When my uncle found out, he was furious. He told me to accept the big tech offer no matter what, and that my stupid argument makes no sense. He said I was privileged to get such an offer, which others have to work so hard for, and I told him that I don't want it anymore. Things got so heated that he might even go no contact with me now. Am I the arsehole for rejecting a big tech company's job offer? So who's the arsehole in this scenario? The young graduate who basically has turned down a role that their uncle has worked hard to get them at a big tech company. They don't say which one, but they mention like a FANG type company. Or the uncle who's furious that their niece or nephew basically is like, yo, just take the damn offer that I got you. What's wrong with you? Like, do you understand the feelings of both sides?
There was a time where I actually was looking for jobs and a friend got me an offer at the company that they worked at. And at the same time, I got an offer from a big tech company on my own. And I remember just being like, oh God, like the one I got on my own was a contract role. So I was like, can I just do the contract role and then like defer the start of like this role that you got me? And they were just like, bruv, like, I like pulled a favor with the boss, and I was just like, yeah, actually that's fair. Cause like you only really get one of those a career,
right,
or a decade. You can't be using them all the time. So I do think it's strange that they said, will you help me get a job? And then when that person did, they were like, I don't want that job. Like if they had a problem with nepotism, why did they ask in the first place? They seem to have like inconsistent values.
100%. Yeah. Basically when they were desperate, they wanted the nepotism. As soon as they had an option, they basically were like, well, actually, no, I don't need the nepotism anymore.
That in itself is problematic privilege.
Yeah, I mean, that would
I have an issue with this or not. Yeah.
If I was the uncle, that would infuriate me. I'm like, listen, I pulled the strings to help you, and now you're turning it down because you're on some ego trip. I think we just have a big mythos in this world about the self-made person, and many people really want to kind of stick to that narrative, even if it's not true. And it's like the world is full of people using every advantage that they have. What difference does it make if you yourself don't do it? I just maybe the only argument you can make is that at the FANG company, you might be going against somebody who doesn't have nepotism, and maybe you should give them that role, and therefore you go get the role that you earned.
But you don't know that. Yeah, you've got to make so many assumptions. I mean, all of the jobs I've ever had in tech pretty much came through some virtue of a privilege of some sort, whether it was network from my like university alumni, or it was then having that first tech company on my resume and getting an inquiry from a recruiter. Like all the little things we do are some advantage over someone who had fewer opportunities than us.
Yes, but that's a different situation. You're talking about privileges that you earned. So you got into that university. It wasn't like,
I didn't earn that. Yeah, fine.
But it wasn't like a parent got you into that university and then from there on in, it kind of just all steamrolled. It's like literally you got into that uni, you had to get the grades to get into that uni. But then once you had that job, you got into a good job. Then once you got that good job, people saw that you were good and whatever. That's a bit different than your uncle saying, yeah, get Abadesi into LSE and then get her into Amazon, right?
Yeah, but why did I get into that university? I got into that university because my parents paid for a private school education that got me into that. And also that they could afford like tutors for me or like coach me in, preparing for university. I don't know, like you can trace it back quite far. But yeah, in this case, I definitely think the poster, the person asking the question is being very annoying. for lack of a
100%.
better word.
I agree.
Like, if
Yeah.
I was the uncle, I'd be like, you ain't getting no Christmas card from me this year.
Yeah, the niece
Also,
and the
think of
nephew
the
is the
favors
asshole.
you have to pull. Imagine I came to you, right? And I was like, yo, Michael, like, I saw you're hiring an intern. Like, look, man, my niece, you know, she's a good kid. She's a good kid. And you go, okay, well, this is like my business we're talking about here. Like, this isn't like cut them into my team on the pub quiz. Like, this is like stakes, real stakes. And I go, come on, you remember that summer in 82 when I did this favor for you? And you're like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. She's in. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, yeah, by the way, she doesn't want to work for you anymore. You'd be like, oh, damn it. I got HR to do her paperwork.
And that's happened to me before, actually, where I've like hooked people up with a connection and then they didn't even appreciate the connection. And I was like, why did I do that?
And then they don't follow up. That is so
they
embarrassing.
They don't follow up. Oh, my Lord.
I've had
so
that as well. When people are like, my reply to that usually now is like, when people are like, oh, can I ask you to do this? And I'm like, you get one ask your whole lifetime. I'm not joking, dude. I'm not joking.
Like, I'm dying. No, you've had your ask. You've had your ask. Get to the back of the queue. There's other people now who get asked. I'm dying.
Because I've had it I've had people in like the hustle crew community or people that I've mentored, like young people that are like, you know, so-and-so, can you introduce me to them? And I'm just like, I want you to think carefully because this is your only ask from me. So if you want it, I'll do it, but you don't get anything else. And they might still not want to help you or be in touch or whatever.
I think that's a smart way of doing it. But I think a better way is just saying, listen, I will help you. But if you do not appreciate the help, and I don't mean verbalize it that way, but if you like take the piss out of the person that connected to you, you don't follow up, or you're unprofessional anyway, I will never help you again. Because if you help somebody once,
that's the same thing.
No, because if you help somebody once and they do great, I have no qualms in helping you again. So it's not like you get one ask and that's it. I would help you multiple times if you are somebody who takes advantage of that help and is professional and doesn't make me look bad. If you make me look good, I'll help you as much times as you want. But it's when you make me look bad, that's when I'm like, you're done. I can't help you. Like, there's no point. That's where we're cut off. Like, you've taken the piss out of a connection that I had to work hard to get just so that I can help you. And then you're not going to take a full advantage of it. Because if you don't earn it, sometimes you don't understand how much hard work it takes to get into those rooms.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that, you know, potentially you could send an email to an Arlen Hamilton or to a Sophia Girl Boss or whatever, right? You could send those emails, right? But how much of your career did you have to develop before you can get those connections?
Oh, 100%.
Some young kid is like,
just to abuse them.
Yeah, exactly. And some kid wants to jump the queue. Okay, I'll help you. But like, you have to appreciate the fact that like, these things are not a dime a dozen. Like, these people are very busy, as am I. So,
and I respect them and their time.
Yeah. Shout out
By
to
the way, can I intro someone to you? JK. Kidding. I know they can go on your intro page and book time instead.
No, listen, I always make time for people, but it's just obviously very difficult when you get bombarded with
when you're famous.
And stuff. You know how we do. Yo, this episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth. Now that I'm real grown, people ask me where am I at? I tell them I am at home enjoying my rent and my mortgage. I'm at home enjoying my house. It is now my sanctuary. So shout out to Cozy Earth. I've invested in new bedding, new PJs. I'm comfortable. With their bed sheets, I'm sleeping better. I'm waking up refreshed. The pajamas and loungewear are unreal. They got men's, they got women's. I've been splurging. So if you haven't upgraded yet, you're missing out on cooler sleep, everyday luxury, and that sanctuary vibe. And not only that, you get a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty on all bedding. If you head to cozyearth.com right now and use the code Techish, you get 40% off all the best-selling sheets, pajamas, and more. Treat yourself and invest in your home sanctuary. So second, am I the arsehole scenario? Am I the arsehole for refusing to lend my brother money for his startup? Oh, this is spicy already.
Oof.
I, 33 female, have been saving up for a down payment on a house for the past 5 years. It's been a grind, but I finally managed to save enough to start looking for a place of my own. My brother, 30 male, so this is a younger brother, on the other hand, has always been the impulsive type.
She's already setting it up.
He's jumped from one project to another, and this time he's decided to start his own tech company. A week ago, he approached me with a business plan and asked if I could lend him a significant sum of money to get his startup off the ground. He promised a return on my investment within a year. Now, I love my brother, but his track record of money isn't great.
He's promised.
Had a couple of... Okay, let's finish up, though. He's had a couple of failed ventures in the past, and I'm worried this will be no different. I told him I couldn't risk my house fund on his startup. He got upset and said I was being unsupportive and that family should help each other out. He's been giving me the cold shoulder ever since, and my parents are siding with him, saying I should have put faith and help him out. So Reddit, am I the arsehole for not wanting to lend my brother money and potentially jeopardize my future? Also, for a bit of context, I've always been the responsible one, and it took a lot out of overtime and cutting back on expenses to save up this money. My brother, while I admire his ambition, hasn't shown the same level of responsibility or financial acumen. My refusal has caused a rift in the family. My brother feels betrayed, and my parents think I'm being selfish. They don't understand why I won't, quote unquote, invest in my brother's future. Oh my Lord, this is triggering me so badly. I'm so angry straight away. I'm so angry. How dare you not give your brother that money? How dare you?
And our next guest is Andrew Tate. Do you know what? The whole time I was reading that, I was like, if she was another brother, would they feel as entitled to what she has sacrificed to save? Because I just genuinely don't think so. I think that if she was a man and she was like, I've sacrificed, I've worked hard, blah, 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 they'd be like, how dare you ask your brother for that? Your brother's got like a future to build, a family, like this, that, and the other. But it's because she's a woman. And they're like, come on, like, what are you really going to do with it?
This one had my blood boiling, I'll be honest with you, just because it's like, one, like, I don't know if I'm wrong hearing it, but it's given immigrant family where like the son can do no wrong. It's given, and also it's given the idea of that, you know, when the immigrant parents don't really even understand startups and they're just like, yeah, why don't you invest in your brother's startup? Like, and it's like, do you know the odds of a startup working? 2, this guy clearly has no track record of success. And
Shots fired.
He's just obviously just that loser younger brother, isn't it? And the parents have just been coddling him his whole life. And you know, eldest daughter is always kind of like, I'm guessing she's the eldest daughter. It's always held up to that standard, isn't it, man? Of just like, support the family, support your brother, support this, support that. And then I always see these TikToks of like people who work in end of life facilities, and they're just like, yo, man, you know, the daughters are the ones that are always there telling the doctor, do this, how do we do that, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And like the sons are just kind of there in their own little world, man. And I've seen it across cultures, especially in London, many different family structures where the son is just not held to that standard and he's not told to like, yo, fix up. And he's a bum for very long periods of his life.
Absolutely.
And it's like, yo, this is so frustrating when I just read that, because I've just seen it, not in this exact context with startups. And also, listen, you should not be angel investing into a startup unless you are a high net worth individual. People need to understand that even in general.
Don't risk what you can't afford to lose.
Let alone a mortgage deposit. This almost makes me feel like this actually isn't real, because I'm like, this is the most infuriating setup where like the person can barely afford it. The person's trying to make a move into a segment of, you know, of life where they need that investment, which for their mortgage. And then you've got the lazy brother trying to do something high risk, basically very low likelihood of success.
He's lazy now.
Well, he's failed basically.
Yeah.
That he's an impulsive type who's jumped from one project to another. I know that type. I know that type of person. Oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. And they never finish.
When the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Yeah, 100%. Was that Malcolm Gladwell book, is it the dip, where it's like that point where it starts to get hard? That's when most people just give up, where actually you should stick to it and just execute. What say you? Did you find this as triggering as me?
Yes,
what do you think?
Of course. Even though I'm not the oldest, I have a brother a few years older than me. Like, the whole time I was reading this, I was wondering if the expectation that she would give up the money that she's sacrificed to save, the expectation that she should do that willingly with, you know, no friction, if that would change if she was a man. Because I feel like if there were 2 brothers and she was the older brother, there would almost be this expectation, well, the older brother's like got a family to provide for, they've got like, you know, decisions to make, like you can't expect your older brother to always, you know, fund you and have your back. Whereas I think if you're a woman, the expectation is very different. Like I remember once, like, it was just like the craziest conversation of like, and it was my mom, and she was like, oh, if you're making loads of money in your job, you should help your brother pay off his student loans.
Lord have mercy.
I was like, sorry, I also have student loans. She's like, oh, well, he's got medical school student loans. And I was like, there's like a hierarchy of loans now. And I'm not saying this to hate on my mother. Like, I love her dearly, but it's that mindset of like women are expected to put others' needs pretty much above our own. And I've seen that in my family, and yeah, I'm not about it. And there's so many times, and again, you're talking about like end of life care. I mean, when my dad was sick and he was dying, like just so many dynamics where as the woman in the room, I just felt like the human punching bag. Like I just felt like the sponge for like all the men's frustrations or energy, and like, and it's exhausting. It's so exhausting. So yeah, when I read that, I was like, girl, you ain't the asshole. I was like, you have a toxic, dysfunctional family and you need to assert your independence, assert your needs. And we've all been there. Like I've been there where I've like lent, quotation marks, lent money to people, never saw it again. And you learn the hard way. You don't lend what you're not willing to lose. A lend is a loss. When you borrow
100%.
something, you ain't never going to see that again. Like most people, like, so don't give it unless you're pretty much literally gifting it. You know, he ain't going to pay that
like,
back.
Why can't 100% not? And why can't the parent? If the parents believe in him so much, why don't you invest?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like you dip into your pension and give your brother and give your son that money. Do you know what I'm saying? But I've seen it all, man. I've seen that family dynamics where like the sibling wants to borrow money from one sibling, but they don't have, you know, the bravery to do that. So they ask the parent pretends that it's a loan for them. basically, and then they get the sibling to borrow money to their mum or dad because they know they've got a sweet spot for their parents, and then they end up distributing that to other family members. And it's like, hold on. It's one thing for me to borrow money to give money to my elderly parents. It's another thing for me to borrow money to my grown, capable siblings who have had the same opportunities as me and have decided to make bad decision after bad decision. Like, that's the thing. That's what's infuriating, because like, so often we talk about privilege and this person's a rich kid, this person's not a rich kid, nepotism. It's like, we grew up in the same house.
Yeah.
We're from the same household. How have we've had the exact same probably opportunities, relatively speaking, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with coming to your brother for support or sibling for support, but like, you know, when it comes to blaming somebody for not backing your dreams, it's like, what do you want from them?
It
like,
makes me sad as well, because I feel that is inherently like a poverty mindset. Like, I just think, you know, when you have not had proper financial literacy, proper like money management skills, and it's very common in like immigrant communities and stuff like that, like you still have family back home, there's like a real sense of like, borrow me this, borrow me that, lend me this, lend me that. And what we end up doing is like enabling people, you know, to expect that there will always be someone they can borrow from, or some pot of money that they can always borrow from. And like, you know, you speak to lots of immigrant families and you know that there are people who like, some other relative is paying their kids' school fees, another relative is paying their rent. It's like, you don't have a sustainable financial situation to maintain your family. And if you are then the role model for your kids are now growing up with this expectation of, well, you know, if I can't make it work, I'll just ask someone to lend me the money. That's not a life. That's not how you live. Like, you need to have independent wealth. Like, when I was growing up, I remember seeing like messed up money dynamics in my family, and that made me obsess about being independent. I was like, I need to be financially independent. I remember getting my first job, you know, when I was a teenager, and my brother called me up and he was like, why are you getting a summer job? And I was like, so I can earn money. He's like, you should be staying at home looking after the younger siblings. I was like, wait, what is this? Like, the Middle Ages? I was like, they're good, they're fine, and it's a part-time job. But yeah, I find it very sad. And then we just get stuck in these cycles, and we just get stuck in these traps. A 30-year-old man has many, many, many opportunities for raising capital for a business if he is willing to find them. He can get a loan, he can fundraise, he can crowdfund, he can kickstart, he can build an MVP and sell it, you know, start some kind of content and sell that, start an OnlyFans, I don't care, but like, you don't need to be asking your sister to dip into her mortgage fund. No way.
Yeah, no damn way. It's interesting, man. Siblings are a very strange thing. I think if you've got siblings that you've got like a great relationship with and you're aligned and you can actually work together, yeah, I mean, that's actually a level of riches that a lot of people don't have, where like, you know, conflict is there, jealousy is there, you know, competing interests. I'm quite fortunate. Me and my sister have a good relationship, and we've always kind of looked out for one another. There's a big age gap where she's about 7 years older than me, so she's always kind of been more of like a mother figure, which is quite good. But then I know people who have siblings that are very close in age, and it's very competitive.
Bruv, I don't even talk to my brother. I wish we did.
Yeah.
I wish we did, but the relationship is just like not there. But, you know, I have other siblings and we're really close. But, you know, I am envious of people that have like those close bonds with like all of their siblings. Because there are times where it's like, you know, it could have been a very different relationship, you know, in terms of our age and how we grew up, but it's not.
Yeah, I hear it. So yeah, if your sibling is asking you to invest in their startup, think very carefully before you do. That's what I'm going to say. And I think let's do one more. I'm either arsehole. We'll leave this one for the Patreon. And this one is, I'm either arsehole if I don't provide the code my boss needs after they fired me. This one's spicy. All right.
To watch the full episode, subscribe at patreon.com/Techish. You'll get access to all full-length episodes, no adverts, the chance to submit your questions into the show, and early bird discounted tickets to our live shows. Subscribe for as little as $5 a month.